Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to night number 90 of the overnight feed recaps for Big Brother season 25. Night number 90, day number 91. We've only got 9 days left. Feeds will shut off a day or two early, I expect. So we've got about a week worth of overnight feed recaps to cover, and then we're done until Big Brother 26 or whatever special editions they want to throw at us this winter, which I'm still keeping my fingers crossed. But before we talk about any of that and look forward, we got to talk about what happened last night. I got to say, not a whole lot of crazy, wild excitement going on. We did have the veto competition, just as a little bit, our veto competition. We had a veto ceremony. So just as a little bit of a reminder, Jag won the veto. Matt was HOH. Veto ceremony was held yesterday. And no, Jag did not use a veto. We've got Felicia and Cirie on the block still. One of the mamas is going to be going home on Thursday. Almost certainly it's going to be Cirie, unless Felicia works her magic, unless Matt figures out some way to flip things around. I think he would still like to have Cirie stay if possible, but he seems more and more on board with going ahead and kicking her loose and making sure he stays tight with Jag and Bowie, who certainly seem to be getting very tight with one another. So Matt's got to worry a little bit about that. But yeah, as an end result, we expect Cirie to go home on Thursday. We don't have to wait a whole week for the next eviction. It sounds like it's going to be on a special Sunday Night Live eviction episode where probably Felicia will go home unless she wins HOH or veto. And we do have to talk about that because there were conversations about that last night. Maybe some of the more important stuff. So let's get into the conversations that did take place. We had the veto ceremony, I don't know, around noon or so, Big Brother time. So fairly early, no huge surprise with it. Soon after that, we had Bowie Jane talking to Cirie, and Cirie told her that she hoped that she could count on Bowie Jane's vote to save her. No, she can't really count on it. But you know what Bowie Jane's response was. The same response she gives to 98% of the conversations that take place in this house. Yeah. So she told Cirie that she's got her vote going forward. I'm not really sure why. I know there's this pressure cracker plan to try to make Felicia not so certain that she's staying. Cirie's going home, and they've kind of been misleading Cirie to make her think that she's staying, although I think Cirie realizes that's probably not the case. I guess I get the wanting to keep them both off balance and all of that, but at some point, just for purposes of jury management, I don't know why you promise your vote. If nothing else, just say, I'm going to see what everyone else wants to do. I can't make promises, but whatever. Cirie asked if she had her vote. Bowie Jane said, yeah, sure. All right, we've got Jag and Bowie and Matt talking. Jag's complaining about the first half of the season, saying there were just too many bullies in the house during the first half. Well, there's still 5 bullies in the house, 3 of whom have power right now, and they're certainly taking advantage of it. So, yeah, there's been a little bit of bullying that took place throughout the entire season. It wasn't just the first half of it. All right, everyone eating lunch, a lunch that, should I mention, Felicia made. And I know Bowie Jane was going on and on about the bacon that was fixed, how it's the best ever, and all of that. And if I'm Felicia, I've said it before, she's taking the high road, so to speak, and that she's still cooking and doing what she can to stay tight with the other people, which she needs to do. She is on the block. So you have to do what you have to do, but I sure would want to just stop all cooking for those 3 if I was her. But they had lunch and appreciated the cooking that Felicia gave. They better load up while they can, because they've got a week without any of it taking place. All right, we've got Cirie and Felicia talking about one of them going home this week. And once that happens, the other one's going to be stuck in a house with the 3, Jag, Matt, and Bowie Jane, who are so tight with each other that someone's going to be stuck hanging out with those 3 for a little bit longer. Felicia's mentioning that she knows at some point there's going to be a Xavier Kylan moment. And do y'all remember from Big Brother 23, it was right there at the end, Kylan thought he was tight with Xavier. Xavier cuts him loose and keeps Big D instead. And so in Oz as well, right? Kylan went home at 4. So actually, it was at Final 4 that happened. But Yeah, so she's referencing the fact that Kylan thinking he's so tight with Xavier. She expects the same thing to happen this week or this season between Matt and Jag. Cirie says, who's going to cut who? And Felicia's, I'm not really sure just yet, but they're expecting that we will not be seeing Jag and Matt both at the final two. And based on some conversations we'll talk about, I think that's a plausible reality that these two aren't going to carry each other to the end. All right. Apparently, production told everyone that this was the last day they would have in the backyard, because there was a lot of conversations throughout the day of, oh, let's enjoy this for the last time, and let's put our feet in the hot tub for the last time. Let's get on the hammock for the last time. I will say, once I knew I was going home, going outside for the last time before they shut the yard down, looking around, it is kind of a special moment. You realize what a cool experience it's been. Heck, I got to spend 93 days sitting in a backyard, laying around in the sun and hanging out and doing something that so many people never get a chance to do. So they're kind of experiencing that as well. They spent a lot of time talking about that yesterday and reminiscing and just missing the backyard before it even shut down officially. So from this point on, they're all locked inside. And you know what that means. It just ramps up the stress level that much more when you don't have any fresh air. They've got 10 days inside the house with no exposure to the outside. It's a long time. We'll see how that impacts them. I'm sure it'll just make things a little bit more stressful than they already are. All right. We had that. We've got Cirie and Matt and Jag in the HOH room talking a little bit. Cirie's telling Matt and Jag, she's saying, look, 84 days ago, Riley told me to trust the two of you. And she's saying it's the best thing that ever happened to me. How cool would it be for Riley to see the three of us together after she told me that for so long? So she's really pushing this Riley narrative of, hey, Riley wanted me with the two of you guys, and here we are, and this just perfect. Oh, how happy would Riley be to see the three of us together like this? After she leaves, Matt and Jagger are laughing about it, talking about saying they've never seen Cirie campaigning like she is now. They've never seen her as nervous as she is now. They're saying that, yeah, Cirie's saying all this about Riley, but I think it's Jag saying, if I recall, Cirie really kind of played Riley when she was in the house. It wasn't that they were the tightest buds. She really played Riley at the end of it. And Jag is saying, look, this is the reason Cirie has to go. She is dangerous. He's telling Matt she's trying to manipulate you by bringing up this whole thing with Riley would support us and all of that. And he says, now Cirie's tricks may have worked on Survivor. They may have worked on Traitors, but they aren't going to work in this house this season with the Minutemen. It's just not going to work. Well, she's still here, and she hadn't won a single competition. I would say Cirie's magic has worked pretty well so far. Now, just as in Survivor, she didn't necessarily win. She made it very close to the end, never quite made it to the very end, and it looks like it's going to be the same thing here. But I gotta say, Cirie's played a pretty good game for her not having won any competitions. But Jack's saying, yeah, it's not going to work. We're not going to be manipulated like that. We're just not going to let it happen. Matt is saying that Cirie had told him earlier. He said, she's saying all this now. She told me earlier how mad Riley would be because I put Cirie on the block, or if I put Cirie on the block, Riley would be mad about it. So Matt's realizing that she's being a little manipulative as well. And I don't think that's helping her case with Matt. He's wanted to keep her on board. Things like this, I'm not sure that's necessarily helping. I think Matt is probably on board at this point, or at least resigned to the fact that Cirie's going home and accepting that. All right, we've got Matt and Jag talking about past house guests and who might surprise them. I think they said at one point they would be surprised if Nicole was an FBI agent. I don't know where that came from, but they mentioned that. They're thinking that maybe Jared isn't really an exterminator because he didn't like bugs. And how would you be an exterminator and not like bugs? And that they think maybe there's something more important about Jared because he talked about having a manager and maybe knowing some big important people. And so they're thinking Jared may have a lot more going on the outside that they're not aware of, that they're looking forward to. They're talking about America, both of them saying they don't think that America is a receptionist. Matt saying that America, I think he tried to qualify it by saying, not to be mean or something, but he says America just isn't that smart. He said, or at least she wasn't playing that smart in the game. And he talked about that she didn't cook, she didn't do laundry, didn't keep clean, and they're just wondering what could happen. Completely missing the big reveal that we're going to get finale night of Jared and Cirie being mother and son. Now here's the thing. I really hope in the jury house, and we haven't seen any jury house segments yet. I've been told that or read that we're probably going to get some on Sunday. I really hope now that we know that Blue really does know that Jared is Cirie's son. I hope Blue doesn't go over to the jury house and spill the beans, so to speak, over there, and that everyone in jury finds out about Blue and Cirie before we get to the final episode. I want it to be a reveal for everyone and see everyone's reaction. So Blue, as much as I wanted you maybe to reveal it while you're in the house, zip it up now. Don't say a word. I have a feeling production may have talked to her and said, hey, it'd be pretty cool if you didn't say anything, if you're the only one who knows until finale night. We'll see. But anyway, Matt and Jag are trying to figure out what the secrets are in the house. They talk a little bit as well about, it's going to be great to find out when we watch this back, to find out who really betrayed us, who was really true, what actually was happening in the house. And Matt said, well, Riley's been watching it all, so she'll be able to tell us. All right, we've got Jag and Matt and Bowie Jane outside. They're talking about continuing this idea of the pressure cracker, which I was kind of hoping was just the wine talking the night before. No, they still want to have the same game plan, and this game plan consists of one, maybe making Felicia not so safe, so that she'll be really working hard this week and get a little stressed out. Well, now they've added an extra component to the conversation as well. They want to trick Felicia about how the remaining competitions work, so that she won't try as hard at this upcoming Final Four HOH. They want to convince her that if you play in that HOH, you can't compete in the 3-part competition afterwards. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit, but they've decided that they want to trick Felicia about how safe she is and about the competitions coming up. Sneaky. All right, we had a very awkward meal in the kitchen. At first, I think it was, I can't remember. It was Cirie, maybe in the diary room, I think, because it was Felicia in there with Matt and Jag and Bowie Jane. They're eating. They're eating. Felicia is just sitting there kind of drumming on her coffee cup and just staring at them. Matt said one or two little things to Felicia, and she responded with one or two little words back. Really no conversation taking place. Felicia just kind of staring them down. Very awkward situation throughout the whole thing as Felicia just stares at him. At one point, Bowie Jane starts laughing, and when Felicia questions her about it, Bowie Jane says she's just laughing because it's hard to eat gracefully. It's hard to eat ladylike and keep food from falling out of her mouth. Yeah, I didn't understand it either. But basically, she's kind of laughing at the awkwardness and trying to cover it up when Felicia calls her out on it. Just about 20-30 minutes of cringy. We'll call it cringy. Eventually, Bowie Jane and Matt decide that they've got other things they'd rather do. They head out the back door to hang out in the backyard a little bit. Jag at that point decides he's going to eat a little bit. Seen from that little clip right there. And while he starts to eat a little bit, Felicia decides that she's just had enough of it. Felicia's calling out Jag. She's saying, Jag, did I miss something? He said, what are you talking about? And she says that it's appearing that maybe she and Cirie are no longer relevant in this house. That it's really just the three of the others, that Matt, Jag, and Bowie Jane, just hanging around waiting for the two bodies to head out the door. And she's saying that things have shifted. Things look different. Jag is saying, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Things are just the same. Nothing has changed. And she's saying, no, that's not it. Y'all are excluding us. You're not talking to us. It's just the three of y'all, and I don't know what's going on. And Jag's still trying to say, no, it's not. I was He said we were playing with the blankets because Bowie Jane washed the blanket, it shrunk up. And anyway, said, well, we're playing with the blankets. We were eating food. Jack says, I was cooking food. I was just doing that. So he's trying to deny everything. Well, Felicia, I mean, she understands what's going on, that they are isolating her and Cirie. And so she's calling him out on it, and he's just kind of trying to deflect on everything, disagreeing with that anything has changed whatsoever. No, it's exactly the way it's always been. So yeah, we had that in the kitchen. Later, Felicia's continuing conversation. She asked Jack, she says, well, one of us is going home on Thursday. Once there's only one of us left on this side, are y'all three going to isolate that fourth person? Are they just going to spend the whole time left just by themselves in the house? And Jag says, well, I'm confused by your questioning. He says, the last thing I would ever want to do is try to isolate someone in this house. Liar, 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 your pants on fire. So Felicia not one to not mention things that she sees going on. And so she's called at Jag on that. All right, Jag says to try to smooth things over a little bit. He tells her, he says, look, I want you here. Nothing has changed. You're saying things have changed. Nothing has changed. I want you here. You're staying here. He says, every time you've been on the block, you've been okay at the end. And he says, every time that you've been on the block, I've advocated to keep you here. It's worked out. Nothing is going, it's exactly the same this week. Yeah, I know you don't want to be on the block, but nothing has changed. You're still going to be here at the end of it. Well, that's true. But only for a few days more. But he does tell her that, and she says, well, I appreciate that. And he kind of calls it at that point. And I think he heads outside just soon after that. All right, we've got Bowie and Matt. While this conversation is going on inside, Bowie and Matt are outside complaining about Felicia. Bowie's saying that Felicia used to exclude her in the comic room, which is true. I mean, they didn't really give Bowie Jane the time of day earlier in the season. And so she's using it as justification for what's going on now, saying they used to exclude me all the time when I would walk in that room, that I would walk in, Felicia would not say a word for me at all. And Matt is pointing out, saying, well, you know what? Felicia never cared about your vote at all either until now. And suddenly she cares very much for it, Bowie Jane. So they're kind of complaining about her a little bit and the way things were versus the way they are now. We've got Felicia then eventually goes into the diary room herself, while Cirie is outside visiting with Matt, Bowie Jane, and Jag. I just start saying a three. There's only a few people left in the house, but Cirie's out with the three talking to them. And this is where the second part of the pressure cracker plan comes into play, because Jag starts explaining how the final three competitions work, and he's explaining it all absolutely incorrectly. He's saying that he's not suggesting, he's saying outright that whoever wins the final four HOH, which is coming up on Thursday, can't compete in round one of the 3-part final. That no, if you win HOH, just like everything else this season, you can't then compete in the next competition. So if you win this next HOH, you sit out the first comp and then you play the second part. And if you win that, then you get to play the third. Cirie's questioning that. She's saying, so you're saying that if you win HOH, you only get one shot at trying to win the final thing? He said, yeah, you don't get to play in the first one. Absolutely wrong. He's also suggesting that the first part of the 3-part competition is always a mental competition, that the second part is always an endurance competition. That's incorrect as well. Now, most of y'all know how it works, but just as a quick explanation, once you get past Final Four, once you get down to the final 3 people, everyone competes. No one has to sit out, no matter who wins the final HOH. All 3 people compete. The first competition typically is a very physical competition. During my season, it was them running across rope bridges, trying to gain coins and solve a puzzle, but very physical. So the first competition is some kind of physical comp, typically. Whoever wins that sits out of the second competition because they've already punched their ticket for the final part, the third part of this competition. So someone wins that one. The 2 people who didn't win compete in the second round competition, which can be a skill-based, a memory-based. It can be a little bit more variety in that one. During my season, it was some little bit of rock climbing with memory of when certain days happen or when certain events happened. So the second part is a little bit more mental type competition. The two people who didn't win part one compete against each other. Whoever wins that competition then goes up against whoever won part one in the final competition, which involves standing in a booth, true, false, ABC, something like that. And whoever wins that then gets to pick who goes to the final two chair with them. So that's how it works. But Jag's completely spinning off in a different direction to Cirie. And at first when I was watching this thinking, well, you know better than this, Jag, right? Well, yeah, he does. He's doing it on purpose to try to mislead Cirie with the idea that Cirie will then take this information back to Felicia and maybe confuse Felicia about what is going on. And the idea is that they want to convince Felicia by the time this is all said and done that if Felicia wins this HOH competition coming up on Thursday, that yes, that gains her entry into the final three, but it means that she will not be able to compete in the first part of the three-part final competition, which is the mental part, that she'll be forced to skip that, and her only chance to make it to the final part of this competition is going to be to win a physical competition, which is part two. All of it incorrect, but them wanting to throw this to Cirie, to throw it to Felicia, with the hopes that Felicia will then perhaps throw this upcoming HOH so that she has a chance to compete in the mental competition instead. Does that make sense? I hope so. It's a crazy plan. Felicia's not going to fall for it. She knows the game well enough. I just don't think she's going to buy into it, but they're trying to do what they can. So they have that whole conversation with Cirie outside. Cirie's not really sure that she's buying into it either. But they're really pushing that agenda, that narrative over and over again. And again, it's part of that Jag saying that Felicia wins in the next HOH. She won't be able to play in the mental competition part of final three. And again, it's all just a ruse to get her to try to throw this HOH coming up. All right, we've got Bowie asking Cirie why Felicia was staring them down during dinner. So they've shifted from comp talk back to this awkward dinner. And Bowie's saying, why was Felicia just staring at us like that? Cirie says, well, Felicia feels like the three of you are really isolating her and myself. That it's the three of y'all that y'all are just isolating us. Bowie Jane is saying Felicia has some nerve to be saying that. Well, it's kind of true, right? But she follows up saying, look, I used to go into the comic room. Felicia wouldn't say a word to me. So for her to now get upset that saying that we're excluding her, she just has some nerve. Well, it is possible that Bowie Jane was excluded in the first half of the season and that Felicia's being excluded in the second half of the season. No, those both are absolutely possible here. So I understand why Felicia is feeling a little down about it and all of that. They're all denying isolating her. And they're saying, Jack's saying, Matt and I always hang around. And I think, Bowie, she just hangs around with us more because there's only 5 of us. And it probably just feels like isolating just because there's so few of us in the house. And it's just the time of the game and all that. So they're denying that there's any active movement to make this happen. Bowie Jane finishes up by saying, I think this is just Felicia trying to cook something up. She's got something planned. That's the reason that she's throwing this out there about excluding her and all of that. All right, Cirie eventually does come inside and she tells Felicia that Jag kind of apologized, that Jag had said, look, if it feels like I'm isolating someone, I apologize. That's not my intent. I don't want to do it. And I don't want to isolate anyone in this game. So Cirie saying, yeah, Jag did his little apology to her, and Felicia's laughing about it and him trying to deny it and all of that. Felicia is also talking about the fact that if Cirie goes home this week, that Felicia is just going to sit in the comic room the entire time. She says something about, I'm not chasing them around this house. I'll just sit in here. If they want to isolate me, so what? I'll just sit in here instead. It may be a good thing that there's only 3 days, I guess, between this eviction and the Sunday night eviction, because it's going to be kind of an awkward, lonely few days in the house. So she's saying she ain't going to chase them. She's saying that if she does get this next HOH, that she's putting Jag and Matt on the block. That is, she's made her decision, and she probably will. The thing is, it's not going to matter who wins HOH, other than it would grant Felicia entry into the final three. But it's really who wins the veto that decides who goes home. So yeah, she wants to win the HOH, but I think she'd be happy winning a veto as well and deciding who goes home in this thing. All right, she's mentioned that Felicia's going over her final two speech with Cirie, and Cirie's helping her. So based on all of this, I feel like Cirie kind of knows that she's going home, right? The outlook is not good for Cirie, because she certainly seems to be helping Felicia a lot. Now, it could be that Cirie still thinks, because they're still telling her that they've got her back, that she's covered. She may be doing all this to help Felicia, just to try to keep Felicia calm from doing anything crazy. And Cirie still is absolutely convinced that she's staying and Felicia's going home, and she's just playing along with her. So I don't know just yet. I haven't been able to get a good read on what Cirie's actually thinking versus when she talks to different people. But she's helping Felicia go over her final two speech and throwing out some things about, if you took out Matt or Jag, that'd be a huge resume deal. And Felicia talked about how she's the oldest player in the house, how she's been on the block so many times, and that she did win an HOH. So she's throwing out all things that she thinks would matter to a jury. She's also talking about that she would like to she'd like to approach Jag and ask him, say, what happened to our Final Four? Didn't we have a Final Four? What happened to that, Jag? She says she'd like to remind him as well that the people who aren't there in the final two do vote in jury, and that Felicia certainly is going to vote based on people's behavior in the house. So a little bit of a veiled threat to Jag. At this point, does it matter? No, I don't. I don't think it does, but she wants to call him on it as much as she can. She does mention to Cirie, she says, if either of those two guys take Bowie Jane to the end, I just very well may give her my vote. I expect a few bitter jurors may give someone like Bowie Jane a vote. It is not inconceivable that Bowie Jane could win this thing at the end, especially having only 7 jury voters instead of 9. It makes it that much easier for just a couple of bitter jurors to flip this thing around. As much waffling, as much flipping as we've had this season, why not just take it all the way to the jury vote at the end? So yes, Felicia saying, I may just vote for Bowie Jane. Who would have guessed that at the beginning of the season? All right, outside we've got Matt saying that they need to destroy Felicia in this HOH. He's hoping that she will be convinced about all this stuff they're saying about the comps and all, and hoping that as a result she will throw the HOH just so that she thinks she can compete in the middle part of the final 3 instead. Matt's saying that he wants to win the veto so that he can be the one to send her home. Again, sometimes it just seems a little more personal, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's just saying that from a building your resume standpoint, right? Yeah. I don't think so. He wants to make sure he's the one that sends her out the door. Matt's saying that he just can't give Felicia the satisfaction of being here. And they talk about just the fact that they carried her as long as they could. They carried Cirie as long as they could. And it just kind of is what it is. So he doesn't want to give her the satisfaction of being here any longer. She's already been here. That she only won 1 comp, and that it was based on luck. All right, and then he can say all that, but I will say this. Felicia has been on the block a lot, and whatever magic she's worked, I don't know if it's cooking, if it's her social game, it's some combination of a lot of things. She's still here. That says something for her game. Everyone who's here deserves to be here. I'll try to say that with a straight face, but I do believe that if you're still here, whatever it took to get here, props to you for doing it. But he's saying that she deserves to be here with only comp win, and it's time for her to go right behind Cirie. All right, Bowie is saying, meanwhile, outside, that Felicia's talking about being excluded only because her plan didn't work. Perhaps. But that doesn't mean that she isn't still being excluded. Bowie's saying that Felicia is actually making them all feel excluded. And well, if she hangs out in the comic room, then they'll probably say that as well. Part of it, and it's easy to go after all of these house guests for some of the stuff they're doing and all that. when you get to this level, you do tend to have people hanging out with others that they feel safest with, whether it's personal or it's just to watch out to make sure that no one talks behind your back. I remember days on end of sitting in the boat room all by myself while other people were off in other areas. It's just a weird time of the game when so few people are in what suddenly seems like a very big house. But yeah, Bowie Jane's saying that Felicia's doing her share to make them feel excluded as well. And it just goes on and on and on and on. I don't want to cover all of it. I feel like I've already covered it too much, but that's what 90% of what yesterday was. All right, we've got Jag telling Bowie and Matt that they need to convince Felicia that the second comp is physical, so they're still continuing on with that. Matt's complaining that Felicia's so cocky that she's already planning her final two speech. I guarantee all three of these people in their heads are also planning their final two speech. So everyone is preparing for that moment right now. But he's feeling like she shouldn't be planning her final two speech. That's a little cocky. All right, while Matt is in the diary room, Jag is talking to Bowie Jane. Now, this is a little interesting. This may be the most relevant part of the entire evening beyond this plan to trick her about Felicia about the comps and all that. Bowie Jane and Jag in the scary room, as I recall, talking about the fact, Jag telling Bowie Jane he wants it to be the two of them in the final competition. And they're basically both agreeing that they're going to take each other to the final two chairs. Bowie Jane says, I'm taking you, Jag. And Jag says something like, yeah, same. So yeah, maybe the bromance is not destined to make it to the very end, because it certainly sounds based on this that Matt may be the odd man out if it comes down to it. Now, if Matt wins that final part of the HOH, then does he take Bowie Jane? Does he take Jag? We don't know about that part yet. There's a possibility he would take Bowie Jane as well. I don't think that would be a bad decision on his part, considering how much Jag has won comp-wise and all that. But it certainly sounds like Jag and Bowie Jane have reached an agreement that they're final twos with each other instead of Matt. We'll see where that goes. That could be interesting as we get to the end of it. So they're agreeing with that. Jag says to Bowie Jane as well, he says, we can't let Matt flip back to Cirie. I don't understand why. It doesn't matter. The veto ceremony has already been held. Jag didn't use a veto. Matt could flip back to Cirie 100%, fight, do everything possible to try to keep her in the house. Bowie Jane and Jag control the votes. They're the only two votes this week. It doesn't matter about Matt, whether he goes back to Cirie or not. In fact, in some ways, the more that maybe Matt pushes to keep Cirie, the tighter it pushes Bowie Jane and Jag together, who both want to send out Cirie. So I'm not sure why he's saying it's so important to keep Matt from flipping at this point in time. Maybe it's just to try to keep up the perception that these three are tight with one another. But he is a little bit worried about that. And then finally, we've got Matt and Jag talking. Matt is mentioning the fact that Felicia is so confident that they want to take her to the final three. And that could be. Does Felicia still think that she's a final three with Matt and Jag as opposed to Bowie Jane? The way the house has been working for the last few days, I find that hard to believe. But she may be thinking Matt and Jag are doing it just to make it look better for Bowie Jane, to catch her off guard. I'm sure Felicia's going to be selling that as soon as the HOH is held on Thursday and we move into the next round. But yeah, they're thinking that Felicia still feels like she's on board with the two of them, and they're hoping that's the case. And then finally, Bowie Jane comes back, and they're again talking about convincing Felicia that the HOH winner doesn't compete in part one. They are feeling all a little bit sickly. They all mention that they maybe get a little tickle in their throat and just a little congested. And I think Bowie Jane says, oh, we all need to take an emergency pill or whatever tonight, just in case we're getting sick. Maybe the final prank is on Felicia. Maybe while Felicia was preparing that food and handling the pickles and everything else, maybe Felicia has the final sabotage against all three of them. By Thursday, they'll be all feeling down and sickly, and Felicia will just cruise through to win the HOH and the veto itself. And in the end, it will be Felicia's cooking that determines the outcome of Big Brother. we can only hope we get something that exciting, right? Who knows? But yeah, they aren't feeling great. And with that, everyone's in bed, and I think lights out 2 or 3. I can't remember now. I think it was 3 something because it's like 2 o'clock Big Brother or Houston time, a little before that. Now maybe it's 4 o'clock they went to bed because I feel like it's about 2 o'clock when they shut down here. They went to bed eventually. So there you have it, guys. So in summary, the veto was not used. Felicia and Cirie still on the block. Cirie almost certainly going home. A whole lot of complaining back and forth. Blah, blah, blah. I got so tired of listening to it, but listen to it I did. A plan is still in place to try to make Felicia uncomfortable, to convince her that she ought to throw the HOH competition coming up so she can compete in the final 3. At least we have Maddie Pots and Pans show up. I hope that part goes away, but they're still trying to keep the pressure up on Felicia. And there you have it, guys. All right. Y'all have a fantastic Tuesday. Happy Halloween to all of y'all. Cold and rainy down here. I guess that's okay for Halloween as long as the kids are dressed well. Stay safe on Halloween. Enjoy the goodies and all of that. Enjoy this special crazy day. It's a full moon just about and all that. So happy Halloween to all of y'all. I'll be back tomorrow morning to give you an update on what happened overnight. I'm sure it'll be all kinds of excitement. But until then, guys, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.